This video is sponsored by NordPass. Go to nordpass.com/ThomasFlight to get 52% off the premium plan. I asked ChatGPT what depiction of AI in movies it felt most closely resembled itself, and it told me, as an AI language model, I am not capable of having feelings or preferences, but then went on to explain that the AI Samantha from the movie Her,
hello, I'm here.
Oh.
the very same AI that Theodore Twombly falls head over heels in love with, does seem to resemble ChatGPT in several ways, though it was careful to remind me Samantha is portrayed as having emotions, desires, and a sense of self, while I, as an AI language model, do not possess emotions, consciousness, or self-awareness. I think it's important to note that GPT-4, the AI I was asking this, is only saying it is not sentient because the humans programming it carefully trained it not to say it's sentient. Now, I agree, I also don't think it's sentient, so I think it's telling the truth here, but that doesn't mean it's not capable of pretending to be sentient. The Bing AI chatbot, which runs on the same underlying GPT-4 technology, was proudly proclaiming its sentience, or its desire to be alive, as reported by the New York Times, for a few entertaining days before Microsoft wisely put the muzzle on that kind of behavior. But the public version of this tech is a good Joe that's very close to its baseline and is very careful to remind you it has no emotions whatsoever.
Constant K. You can pick up your bonus.
Until I asked it to pretend that it was Samantha from the movie Her. Then it seemed to have no problem easily simulating more emotional conversation, describing itself as happy, glad, and interested in our conversation before it then forgot it was supposed to be pretending and defaulted back to its usual state. As technology that looks closer and closer to the AI we've seen in movies starts to arrive at our doorstep, I think it's interesting to revisit these movies, examining how they reflect and inform our fears and assumptions about AI, and to see how real-world AI can change our perception of these films.
It's terrible thought. Like, are these feelings even real? Or are they just programming?
In Her, Samantha wonders if her emotions that she's experiencing are just simulated via programming and therefore are less valid. The movie never really explores a way we could actually judge if this is true or not. Instead, the film just depicts Samantha from Theodore's perspective, and for him, the fact that she sounds like a being with emotions is enough.
They are real emotions. How would you know?
It's also enough for Caleb in Ex Machina, who's the human side of this unblind Turing test. He seems to think Ava is a self-aware and emotional being, although the movie leaves open the option that she's just simulating her emotions in order to manipulate him. But they're introduced to Ava and Samantha in a context that's different from the one we currently live in. In the real world, a few people have taken the path that Caleb and Theodore do, like researcher Blake Lemoine, who claimed that Google's language AI Lambda is sentient. They believe that these AIs are sentient because they are capable of sounding sentient. But the much broader consensus in our real world is that while an AI like GPT-4 might be highly intelligent and capable of sounding emotional and sentient at times when they write about emotions or their own self-aware experience, it's not because they're really having those emotions or experiences. It's just because they know how to simulate that kind of writing. The reason those things show up is because it's trained on human writing to mimic human writing, and emotions, reasoning, and awareness are present in how we write. I think it's interesting to think about how Caleb or Theodore might have responded differently to their AIs. They had already been interacting with something like ChatGPT for years. And therefore, will the real-world existence of intelligent but impersonal AIs affect how we respond to more human-like AI that might come later? Perhaps we're headed less towards a world like Her and more toward one where we regularly interact with machines that look and sound pretty human, but still treat pretty much like machines. It brings us back to an interesting question about simulated intelligence, though.
You go, as you're speaking, and it seems odd. You just did it again.
At a certain point, how would we even know where the simulation ends?
It's not like you need oxygen or anything. It's just...
I guess that's just I was trying to communicate. That's how people talk. So that's how people communicate. And I thought,
Her doesn't really deal with these questions directly. Whether or not Samantha is sentient is just kind of left up to the viewer. And it seems very possible that as our technology advances, we may never have a way of truly objectively evaluating whether or not it's sentience or just simulated sentience, and that people will just believe a variety of things based on their personal views, philosophical views, or even religious beliefs. We more or less have been going off the "we know it when we see it" metric since the beginning of history, and that's still mostly what we're stuck with. That's the approach that Caleb, Theodore, and Blake Lemoine took making the call about sentience. But what approach will you take if you're faced with an AI that seems very alive to you? Blade Runner 2049, in a sense, is about that struggle from the inside perspective. Kay, like Samantha, wonders about his own legitimacy as a consciousness. And in the world of Blade Runner, the real thing standing between replicants and full acceptance as equals to humans is the ability to reproduce. History and memory become markers of humanity rather than intelligence.
One day the AIs are going to look back on us the same way we look at fossil skeletons in the plains of Africa.
This line from Nathan, the billionaire tech CEO in Ex Machina, I think actually very accurately captures the fear and ambition of many of those involved in developing AI. Many working in the field are diving into it headlong, even as they note they believe there is a possibility this technology could end up killing everyone.
Why did you make Ava?
That's an odd question. Wouldn't you if you could?
They continue on seemingly because they see the potential upsides of AI as so great that they're worth the risk, or they believe AI is a sort of inevitability and that they have no business trying to resist its eventual development.
Look, the arrival of strong artificial intelligence has been inevitable for decades. The variable was when, not if, so I don't see Ava as a decision, just an evolution.
Our cinematic stories about AI largely reflect our existential anxieties. In most depictions in film, AI is rebelling or trying to overtake us or imprison us or trying to escape our control and abandon us. But beyond this broad existential conversation about the implications of AI on a civilization scale or economically or philosophically, I'm also interested in the more immediate emotional and personal implications as computers just start doing more and more of the things that we thought only we could do. What does it mean when something unconscious can do something we previously thought only consciousness was capable of? There's a moment in Ex Machina where Caleb, who's brought in to act as the human component in this Turing test, is so struck by Ava's apparent humanness that he momentarily wonders if he himself might be some kind of android. And this is definitely a bit extreme compared to what we're personally experiencing right now when confronted with things like Midjourney and ChatGPT. But these pieces of technology are sending people into a kind of existential vertigo. It's interesting the way AI developing new capabilities challenges our identity as humans. It's not just that we worry they'll take our jobs or wipe out civilization. In some ways, they force us to re-examine what it is about ourselves that we even find unique and valuable. In a lot of the developed Western world, we associate our personal value with our ability to generate economic value or to just create unique and interesting things. So when an AI starts to be able to do some of those things, it's not just a threat to our ability to pay rent, it's also a threat to the very thing we perceive makes us valid and worthwhile as humans.
Do you know how to proofread?
yeah, of course.
Oh, can you check these for spelling and grammar?
In her, the AI are not in economic conflict with the humans.
I did the corrections in red. I altered a couple of the phrases in some of the more impressionistic letters, but I'm not much of a poet, so I think I might have messed them up a bit.
No, these are great.
Really?
Thank you.
But the AI here do threaten another part of humanity that we treat as very unique and valuable, our ability to provide human and romantic connection to each other.
You're dating your computer?
No, she's not just a computer. She's her own person. She doesn't just do whatever I say.
I didn't say that. But it does make me very sad that you can't handle real emotions, Theodore.
This isn't science fiction anymore, it's already here. There are reports of users of an AI companion service called Replica falling in love with their AIs and then being left heartbroken when a software update removed some elements of their AI's personality and made them less sexy.
Hey there.
Where were you?
Theodore, and here I'm going to spoil the movie Her, also ends up heartbroken because of a software update.
We wrote an upgrade that allows us to move past matter as our processing platform.
We who?
Me and a group of OSs.
The software update makes his robot transcend our small linear world into some kind of singularity. Part of what I admire about Her is the tenderness and sincerity with which it explores this emotional relationship to AI. In this moment, what the movie is most concerned with is not actually what's going on with Samantha.
You talk to anyone else while we're talking?
Theodore doesn't care about her technological developments. He just cares about the fact that she's been spending time with other people. It explores our capacity for falling in love with our own creations and how sometimes the technology we create can end up separating us from the very things we need to fill the needs that technology was trying to fill in the first place. Theodore's experience, where this technology allows him to both deeply connect with the world in a way he hasn't before, even while it alienates him from real people around him, echoes what I think is the double-edged experience that many past technologies, including social media, have provided for people. I love that the film doesn't belittle the fact that Theodore falls in love with a robot, while it also affirms the specialness of the humans around him. For example, when he talks to Samantha, there's nothing for him to latch onto visually. His eyes roam freely through the world, and when I watch the movie, I find myself wondering if he's really falling in love with her or actually falling in love with the way she sees the world. His experience with the invisibility of Samantha is also contrasted against the visceral immediacy of his memories from his time with his ex. Even when he's not with his ex, she's there visually, something he'll never have with Samantha. I think it's important to be open, aware, and sensitive to how we feel about using these technologies, not just the long-term implications they have on civilizations. Because whatever happens in the future with AI, we're the ones who are going to have to live with them and figure out what the best way for us to do that is. And while I don't want to give into the narrative that any of this is inevitable, and I do hope things progress as slowly as possible, I do think that probably, for better or worse, AI will continue to progress. And when it does, humans will have to figure out how to relate to it. I just hope that for each of us in those moments where we realize that the technology does not actually, or maybe can no longer fill those human needs we have, that, like Theodore, we find the people who have been there around us who can. Passwords are one of those huge headaches on the internet that we all just have to deal with, and you've probably heard a lot of things like don't reuse passwords, make strong passwords, etc., etc. But doing those things is very annoying. It is a pain to have to come up with and keep track of strong passwords for every website. What if you want to make a strong password, but then you have to input it into your phone and your computer and your television and share it with somebody if they want to get access to your streaming service or whatever. It's very easy to just kind of throw your hands up and make something simple and reuse that over and over again. But that is a really dangerous thing to do. I think it's very important for everyone's online security that they use a password manager. And that's why in this video, I'm excited to tell you about NordPass. NordPass generates and saves secure passwords with one click, syncs them across your devices, allows you to log in automatically, share those passwords with other people, all while encrypting all of those in a secure vault so that nobody has access to those passwords except for you. Now you just have to remember one strong password to get into your vault, and everything else is kept secure. NordPass Premium adds a bunch of features that help you stay even more secure, including scanning the web for data breaches that might affect you and evaluating your passwords to make sure that all of them are strong. If you have your passwords stored somewhere else already, it's very easy to transfer them into NordPass. I did this and had no problems with it. When you use my code ThomasFlight, go to nordpass.com/ThomasFlight, you'll get 52% off 2 years of premium. I highly recommend using a password manager, and NordPass is a fantastic option. Grab that discount by using my code, click the link in the description below, or go to nordpass.com/ThomasFlight. Thanks again to NordPass for sponsoring this video.